What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today, we're going to be talking about if you feel like you don't have a lot of time to practice, you feel like you are too busy to practice the piano. What can you do in your situation? How do you find the time to practice? How do you become more consistent with your piano playing? What can you do to make sure that you hit the level of playing that you want to play and that you achieve your goals with your piano playing? So we're going to get into all of that here in this video, and we're going to debunk this myth. Yes, it is a myth that you don't have enough time to practice. I'm going to explain that all to you in this video. So point number one, you feel like you're too busy to play the piano. What can you do about that? Point number one is you need to set goals. So what is your goal with the piano? Are you just trying to play a particular song? Are you trying to play, let's say, for example, the Godfather theme song, and then you're good? You never want to touch the piano again? Do you want to play maybe a couple songs that you love, that you remember when you were young? What are your goals? Or do you want to learn the piano as a lifelong activity? You don't just want to learn a few songs, but you want to learn more about music theory. You want to become a better musician. You want to play songs by ear. You want to be able to play whatever you want, even songs that haven't been released yet in the future. You need to figure out what your goals are. What do you want to do with the piano? And why did you start to play the piano in the first place? If you don't have any goals with the piano, then of course it feels like you don't have a lot of time to practice because you don't have a clear aim, you don't have a clear objective of what you should be doing with the time that you do have to practice. So this is the first step you need to do. Figure out your goals, figure out the end result that you're looking for when it comes to playing the piano. After that, we need to figure out what needs to be true for you to get there. So let's say your goal is all you want to do is play Amazing Grace on the piano. That's your goal. You just want to play Amazing Grace, and once you can play it well, you're done. Okay, what needs to be true for that to happen? Well, it's an easier song, but you still need some level of hand coordination. You can play your melody in your right hand and the chords and the bass in your left hand. So you need hand coordination. You need to be able to know what the notes are on the piano. So you need to know what a C note is on the piano, what a B flat note is on the piano. You need to be able to have some kind of sense of rhythm, maybe read the music, or maybe if you're not reading music, be able to figure out notes by ear. So that's everything you would need to do to lay the groundwork to play Amazing Grace, right? And if your goal is to play the piano long term and you don't really have a specific song that you want to play, but you just want to become a better musician overall, a better piano player overall, or maybe you want to play a more difficult song like Clair de Lune, right? A classical piece, very famous, then do the same thing. Figure out what needs to be true to get to playing that song the way you want to, beginning at where you are, right? So if you're newer to the piano and you want to play Clair de Lune's in D flat major, so you need to know the D flat major scale. You need to know what notes are in it. You need to know what the chords are. You need to know what fingers you should play for each of those notes. You need to know how to use the sustain pedal because it's very legato sound, it's very smooth sounding. So you need to know how to use the sustain pedal efficiently to change between notes and chords in a way that sounds connected and smooth. You need to know how to play with dynamics on the piano. You need to know how to play loud versus playing soft on the piano, gradually increasing volume, gradually decreasing the volume, and a whole bunch of other things, right? But those are just examples. So you need to figure out what needs to be done. If you don't know what needs to be done, then you can either try to ask other people who have done it, you can work with a teacher, you can ask ChatGPT, you can ask Google, you can ask Reddit, you can ask whoever, but you can need to ask somebody and figure out what needs to be done to play that. What you don't want to do is just go at it completely by yourself and try to figure things out on your own, because that's going to take a lot longer to figure out and you already don't have a lot of time. So try to use other people's knowledge, other people's experience to figure out what needs to be done faster. Then once you know what needs to be done, you need to figure out how to actually do it, right? So here comes the consistency piece. So point number 3 would be figuring out your practice routine. Are you able to practice every single day? Are you able to practice for 20 minutes per day, 3 hours per day? What time are you going to practice? Where are you going to practice, right? So these are things that need to be answered next, once you know what needs to be done. And this is where people kind of start to fall apart and they kind of start to not be consistent, is because they don't have a set routine in place, right? So what you want to do is figure out what days are good. I tell people at absolute minimum, you need to practice at least 4 days per week for at least 20 minutes per day to see noticeable results week after week, month after month. Anything less than that, you're still going to be getting better, but it's not going to be very noticeable for you, and it might feel discouraging and frustrating. So let's say you decide that you're going to play every single day, 7 days a week for 30 minutes per day, right? That's your goal every single day, 30 minutes per day. Okay. Now we got that figured out. Now you need to figure out how you're going to do that. Are you going to do it before work in the morning? Are you going to do it after work? Are you going to do it midday? Where are you going to do it? Are you going to do it at home? Are you going to go work with a teacher every single day? Are you going to play on an outside piano? And what is it that you're going to be doing? So break down your practice sessions as well. So say you're doing daily, every single day, 30 minutes. You can do 10 minutes of working on the scale. So let's say you're trying to play Clair de Lune. 10 minutes of scale work, 10 minutes of playing in D flat major, getting familiar with the fingerings, the notes, the chords. Then you're going to do, let's say, 10 minutes of arpeggio work, because Clair de Lune is a lot of arpeggios. So you're practicing your D flat major arpeggios in the left hand. And then the last 10 minutes, maybe you're actually playing the song itself. You're playing Clair de Lune. Even if you're only trying to play the first measure, the first half measure, whatever it is, that could just be an example of your practice routine. In addition, you want to have your plan before you sit down. You also want to eliminate distractions. So you want to turn off the notifications on your phone. You want to try to find a private space. I have an office here where I practice that has physical doors, so I can shut the doors, shut people out, shut the pets out, and I just use that time to practice on what I need to and get things done. If you don't have a practice room that you can shut the doors out, maybe you can hang up a curtain, right? Maybe you can just get up early in the morning so nobody's around to distract you. It's just you anyway, even if the piano's in the middle of the room. Figure out a way where you can eliminate distractions, like shutting people out, and turn your phone off. And what you also want to do is time it. So you come in with your plan, like I said earlier, take out your stopwatch, take out your phone, and actually time it. Open up the clock app on the phone and time it. Time your first 10 minutes, you're going to be doing this. Once that is done, move on to this. Then once that is done, move on to the last piece, right? And this will help you with your accountability. So you're not going to just be sitting down trying to think about what you want to do, wasting time trying to figure out what you want to do, because you already did this. You already laid out the groundwork way ahead of time, and you're not going to be wasting time. So the 30 minutes that you do have to practice, the 20 minutes that you do have to practice, right? You know that time is going to be used efficiently. You know you're going to be getting better within that time, and there's not going to be any leakage. You're not going to be wasting time. Time's not going to get stolen away from you, and you will make noticeable improvement even if you're not practicing for hours and hours a day, because your practice time will be so efficient and so well planned out that you won't have a choice but to practice efficiently and to actually make improvement, even if you're not playing for a long time all at once, right? So a lot of times people will say that they practice for 3 hours per day, but they have an hour where they're scrolling social media. They have 30 minutes where they're checking their emails. They will get up and walk around for 20 minutes. They will play with their dog for 10 minutes. A lot of time gets wasted. What you're going to do is you're going to have that plan ready. You're going to find your private space. You're going to get your stopwatch out. You're going to shut the notifications off on your phone. And you're going to sit down and you're going to play piano. You're actually going to practice the piano, right? And it sounds easy, right? You might be thinking, okay, Josh, I want to be consistent, but I've tried this before. I try to be consistent and it doesn't work out. What can I do? Well, you can still do everything I just told you, still come up with a plan, eliminate distractions, all of that. But one thing that I found really helpful is actually tracking your practice. So I use an app that's called Daily Tracker. It's, I think, $50 for the year, very inexpensive. And I write down every single day that I practice, and I write down the amount of time that I practiced for, right? And what happens is once you start getting this done for like a week or maybe a month or 2 months, and you have this big long streak of practicing every single day, you don't want to break that, right? You don't want to break your streak, and it's going to motivate you to continue to practice. You're going to be in a habit of practicing. You're going to be in a state of inertia. You'll be using inertia to actually help you practice every single day because you're so used to it. And it's very, very helpful. It will be helpful for you if you're not doing this already, is to actually track this and physically write it down. Whether it's digitally, you write it down, or you have a physical sheet of paper, you're tracking it as well, whatever you need to do. Physically track this so that your brain will know what you're doing and you can actually see it visually all the days that you've practiced. It's going to be motivating to you, and it's going to hold you accountable to continue to practice in doing so. Same thing with Snapchat. For those of you familiar with the app Snapchat, they had streaks. So you snap somebody every day, they snap you back, and that would count as a streak. And people would have streaks for 10 years, 5 years, right? Where they would be Snapchatting somebody every single day. And Snapchat, the company, loved it because people were using their app every single day for years and years. And the users liked it as well because they saw their streak and they did not want to break their streak, and they wanted to keep that momentum going, right? And you can use that same psychology on yourself. It's kind of manipulative, but not in a bad way. It's manipulating you in a good way because the outcome of this is good. Maybe Snapchatting every single day is not good. That can be a negative manipulation technique. But practicing the piano every single day, if that's what you want to do, then you can manipulate yourself, but it's in a positive way to make sure that you do that. And writing down your practice sessions, maybe what you did during those practice sessions, for how long you practiced, that's going to keep you motivated and it will hold you accountable to actually get things done, right? Once all that is done, then all that's left to do is execute. And this part is the easy thing because everything's planned out. You know what needs to be done. You have your days, you have your times. All that's left for you to do is sit down and actually practice. A lot of people do it the opposite way. They just try to use their willpower and their motivation to just keep bashing their head up against the wall to try to force themselves to practice the piano consistently. And of course, they get burned out, they get frustrated, they quit. They don't become consistent because they do it the opposite way. They did not do any of the groundwork that we just talked about. They didn't figure out their goals. They didn't figure out what needs to be done to get to that goal. They didn't figure out how much time they have to practice. They didn't figure out what needs to be done in those practice routines to get things done. They didn't do any of that. Instead, all they did was they just tried to sit down and execute on the piano immediately without doing the groundwork. And that's why they quit. That's why they struggle. What you're going to do is the exact opposite. You're going to do all that groundwork we just talked about, and that's going to make the executing piece a lot easier for you, guaranteed. So next time you tell yourself that you don't have enough time to practice or you're short on time, come back to this video, recycle, go back to step number 1, do everything I just told you, and all of a sudden you will find more time in your schedule, guaranteed. With all that said, I do have a free guide on my website. That's 34 more tips that will help you to play the piano. Link to that is down below. It's completely free. In addition, I am offering lessons right now via Zoom. To get started with those, send me an email. That is down below as well. We'll set up a day and a time that works best for you. My name is Josh LaFleur with Lakestar Piano, and happy practicing.